Okay, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I'm going to be doing this. Can do this stream for about an hour. It's the beginning of Shabbat, and I've got the newsletter loaded up from Sightedmoon.com. So I just want to get into the reason why I'm doing this is the motivation behind it. Pretty much the motivation is if you believe that the Holy Bible, just get it here. If you believe that the Holy Bible is the Word of God, it's the Word of truth, it's the guide to life, then that's pretty much the motivation to find the truth, to know the truth, and to live the truth, to walk out the truth, to go the way, like Yehoshua said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. He was the living Torah. He is the living Torah. So the reason I do this is pretty much because of the word of Elohim, of Yah. And from the way things have panned out, like I said, I think I said in a previous video that, at 17, I started reading the Bible. It was put into my heart, I believe by Yah, to want to have the motivation or just that itch to want to read the Bible. And that led me to go to the Church of God, one of the Church of God splinter groups that split off from Worldwide Church of God. And, now today I attend a congregation that is Torah observant. And I also read the newsletters on Sightedmoon.com. And I feel that there are many an interesting topic on that website, but relevant to the times we are living in right now. This could be, the beginning of the end, pretty much, and not the end of the world, but I mean the end of the end of the age of man. So, pretty huge thing, pretty huge event. That's a big understatement, but I mean it's going to shift all of history if it's true. But time will tell. So anyway, enough preamble. I'm just going to get into the newsletter. It is newsletter 5855. That's the year. And this is the 46th newsletter. So that means there's, I guess, 6 more till the new year, if we're going by that reckoning. But probably won't go that way. It goes based on the barley harvest, as you know, as it is in the scripture. It is the 29th day of the 11th month, and 5,855 years after the creation of Adam. Let me just take a sip. Taking one pretty early. So it is the 29th day of the 11th month, which means that the new moon is coming up. Get my snack here. I don't know, I could shine the light more on my face. Anyway, we'll just have to make do. January 25th, 2020, that's the Roman calendar. Shabbat Shalom to the royal family of Yehovah. Heading reads 12th month, moon of Adar. It's the Babylonian name. The new moon to begin the 12th month. The month of Adar will potentially be seen on Sunday the 26th January after sunset from Israel. The seeing shall be easy as the moon is old, almost 2 days. The astronomical new moon is on Friday, the 24th. Guess that's the conjunction. From the USA and Central South America, seeing shall be possible from Saturday evening. See the global viewing maps. You can change this map by the hour and by the location to see what the moon will look like when you are, look like from where you are. So there's a picture of that map. Okay. New heading. Do you see the signs of our times? Signs of the end of the age. Wow, we're getting into it here. Matthew 24, and that's verses 3 to 14. You can read that on your own time. Since December, you have been reading about many various earthquakes around the world on the nightly news. Puerto Rico has not yet recovered from the devastating Hurricane Marie, which came at Category 5 strength in 2017. At the end of December 2019 and in early January 2020, the southwestern part. I don't know if I should show. Okay, I'll just show that. I want to show the pillow there. The southwestern part of the island of Puerto Rico was struck by an earthquake swarm, including 6 that were of magnitude 5 or greater. The largest and most damaging of the sequence occurred on January 7 at 4:24 AST. That's the time zone. And had a magnitude of 6.4 M. I think that's the unit there. There's a number of earthquakes worldwide for 2009 to 2000 and maybe 16. So we can see if it's increasing here in this. Generally, the total, you can see 2009 was 8,000 in total. Definitely is right. Let me just recalibrate my voice here. 2010, 12,000. 2011, over 15,000. 2012, 12,000 again. 2013, a little bit lower. And then 2014 went up again, 15,000. 2015, 14,000. But you can see the magnitude, the 4.0 to 4.9. Oh, sorry. Let's look at the. Yeah, looks like it's pretty steady in terms of the distribution of the various magnitudes of the earthquakes, but overall you can see that there is a upward trend in terms of total earthquakes. Okay, it says here an increase in detected earthquake numbers does not necessarily represent an increase in earthquakes per se. Population increase, habitation spread, and advances in earthquake detection technology all contribute to higher earthquake numbers being recorded over time. That's true. Another grid. Listed are earthquakes with at least 7.0 magnitude. So number of them doesn't. My browser just doesn't show me the full grid. And then listed are earthquakes with at least 10 dead. Okay. Then in January, we were telling you about various volcanoes that were then erupting around the world. This is a list of volcanic eruptions of the 21st century, measuring a volcanic explosivity index of at least 4, as well as notable smaller eruptions. Notice that the size of eruptions can be subject to considerable uncertainty. Okay, I won't read all of this, but all right, here's a list of all the volcanoes in the Philippines and their locations. We also had the Armageddon wildfires of Australia. Armageddon, of which about 50% were just recently put out by flooding rains. These were then followed by monstrous dust storms and then baseball-sized hail that just destroyed everything. Did this really happen? Wow. That does sound pretty catastrophic. Okay, I'm gonna take a break just to adjust the lights because I don't like the shadow that's happening there when I kind of lean back. It's not very presentable. Just hold on. Okay, I hope that's not mic'd up. Okay, hope that's a little bit better. Not as much shadow. All right. Oh, it looks like there's more shadow. Oh well, we'll just make do. All right. I don't know how to make this better, but maybe if I would lift up the computer, well, that'd be better. But I don't have it. I don't have anything to elevate this, so you just have to make do with that. I don't have anything to prop it up. I'll have to do that for next time. I have to invest in something that will raise this, or just maybe just put in my lap. I could do that. Okay, let's do that. Just don't want to be so up close to the computer. All right. I have to put something on my lap to prop it up. Oop. This is so amateuristic. That's even a word. All right. I guess my camera's getting clearer every time I do this. That's good. I think the first time it looked like you were in a foggy haze. And then the second time was okay. And this one looks probably the best so far. Anyhow, continuing on. Yeah. Canberra, Australia. Associated Press. Dust storms, hail, and flash floods have beleaguered Australian cities in recent days. Extreme weather that has diminished the threat from scores of wildfires that continue to blaze across the country's southeast. A hailstorm in the national capital, Canberra, on Monday damaged public buildings, businesses, homes, and cars, cut power to some suburbs, brought down trees, caused flash flooding, and injured 2 people, emergency services officials said. To the west, a 300-kilometer wide cloud of red dust was carried by wind gusts up to 107 kilometers per hour and descended on the drought-stricken towns of Dubo, Broken Hill, Ningan, and Parks, local media reported. Much of the dust is topsoil from New South Wales state farms. Well, can't be that bad, right? If it's just soil. I mean, it's bad, but could be like chemical. There's some pictures. A lot of leaves. Oh, wow, broken windshield. You can follow along on the website if you like, or if you have no access to the internet, such as I don't. I mean, if you have no means to read the newsletter while you're driving, for example, which is usually the case that I find myself in, then continue listening. Added to this mixture was the USA and Iran on the brink of starting World War III, and Iranians shooting down a civilian aircraft loaded with people. So I guess they should call it not a Iranian airplane crash. It should be called the shooting down of civilian aircraft. That's what it should be called. Airplane shooting, or shooting down of airplane. And then the world went back to sleep and continued with the impeachment process and the new trade deals, and the Dow reaching even higher record highs than the day or the weeks before. Nothing changed. This past week, we began to hear about massive swarms of locusts in Africa, but the snoring continued. Then we began to hear the WHO warning about new flu. I don't think it's a flu, but anyway, keep reading. The number of people infected with the new virus in China tripled over the weekend, with the outbreak spreading from Wuhan to other major cities. There are now more than 200 cases, mostly in Wuhan, though the respiratory illness has also been detected in Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen. 3 people have died. Japan, Thailand, and South Korea have reported cases. The new strain of coronavirus, which causes a type of pneumonia, can pass from person to person, China confirmed. Respiratory expert Zhang Nanshan, who heads the Health Commission team investigating the virus, said 14 medical workers had caught it while treating patients, state media reported. The sharp rise comes as millions of Chinese prepare to travel for the Lunar New Year holidays. I've always appreciated the American accent, not the one that we know today. I mean the one back in the early 1900s. They had this very distinctive accent. I can't really explain it. It's okay. I could explain it. It's sort of like you ever hear sports announcers announcing like Kentucky Derby, things like that, or Secretariat, and old TV broadcasts, I guess from the 30s up to the maybe 50s. You have a very distinctive American accent, and it was completely different from how people talk today. I think they put more emphasis on the latter syllable. But anyhow, I'll try to do my best impression of that. Continuing on, a total of 8 people died of seasonal influenza in Taiwan in a span of 1 week, according to the Centers for Disease Control, CDC, reported by Central News Agency. This records bring the death toll. That doesn't make sense. Anyhow, I'll just read it. till it makes sense. This brings the death toll to 34 since October the 1st, 2019. Some patients encountered severe flu that leads to cardiac arrest in older patients. From January 5th to January the 11th, a total of 124,118 people sought medical treatment for flu-like symptoms at hospitals and clinics, according to CDC statistics. 80% were diagnosed with flu type A H1N1 virus. A doctor noted that none of the 8 individuals who died had been vaccinated against flu or the flu. January 22nd, 2020. You can read more about this new virus and watch the news updates at the link below. Officials in China are racing to contain a deadly new strain of virus that has infected almost 450 people and left almost 20 dead. Over the weekend, the number of cases of the 2019 novel coronavirus, or 2019 NCOV, quadrupled, and U.S. health officials confirmed the first case in the United States on Tuesday in a man in his 30s who had recently traveled from Wuhan, China to Seattle. On Monday, a Chinese scientist confirmed that there can be human-to-human transmission of respiratory illness. I'm sorry to get so newsy, but this is just what's in the article. Anyhow. On Monday, a Chinese scientist confirmed that there can be human-to-human transmission of the respiratory illness. Officials in Hubei province, where the epicenter city of Wuhan is located, said Wednesday the death toll from the coronavirus had risen to 17. Several U.S. airports have begun screening passengers from China to prevent the virus from spreading further. Here's what you need to know. What is a coronavirus? I'm really going to read this. Let me take a sip of Roostar. This is so fun. Not really. Gotta get through this newsletter. Coronaviruses are a large group of viruses that can cause illnesses as minor as a cold or as serious as Middle East respiratory syndrome and severe acute respiratory syndrome, according to the World Health Organization. They often present with pneumonia-like symptoms. The viruses are transmitted from animals to humans. The virus that causes SARS, for example, was transmitted to humans from a cat-like animal called a civet. But in some instances, as appears to be the case with this new strain of coronavirus, they can also be transmitted between humans. The World Health Organization said there are multiple known coronaviruses circulating in animals that have not yet been transmitted to humans. Since 2005, we have been telling people about the curses of Leviticus 26 for not keeping the sabbatical years. No one listened to us back then, and few listen to us now. We have been showing you how to know when the sabbatical years are and how to prove them from your own Bible. Even amongst the brethren are those who say this is only for the land of Israel, and yet the curses are hitting the whole world now. just as an aside, yeah. So SARS, if you do your research, uh, they say that it was started or was spread, just like I read, from a monkey or sorry, not a monkey. Why did I say monkey? From a civet cat. Uh, Obviously, that's an unclean animal. I'm not supposed to be eating those. Uh, Leviticus 11 outlines the animals that are permissible to eat. Civet cat is definitely an unclean animal, and that's a consequence of breaking that law. Uh, our Father doesn't need to outline every reason why we should keep His commandments. He doesn't have to say, "Don't eat this because it causes SARS. Don't eat this because it causes coronavirus. Don't do this because it's going to cause the Black Plague, sanitation, and so forth." But when you do it, it's on faith. It's a matter of faith, and when you do it, there's a blessing, and there are also curses which you will avoid. Clearly, this is a violation of Leviticus 11. The people in China are ignorant of Leviticus 11 because they don't teach it. Because I think they banned the Bible in China anyway, or people from teaching it at least. I don't really know the situation. But so with coronavirus, I heard on the radio, can't believe everything here, but it may be that this originated from consuming venomous snakes, which are clearly unclean as well. Am I surprised? No, I'm not surprised. It's bad. It's definitely a horrible situation, and we just, I only pray that our lives may be spared, and it's not, something unforeseen where more lives need to be, or there isn't a needless loss of life. I mean, there already has been quite a number of people have died from it, but I mean, it hasn't gotten to the hundreds of deaths yet, or even thousands. Whereas, let me just look at my notes. I made a note here regarding world population. Okay, so our population is over 7 billion. I'm just going to say that. You can safely assume that. Now, the world population in the 1300s, between the 1300s to the 1400s, was at minimum 360 to 432 million. Okay. The Black Death in the years of 1930 or 1330 to 1350, 75 to 200 million people died from the Black Plague. I want to repeat that. 75 million to 200 million died out of 360 to as much as 432 million. That number that's as little as, what's that, 75 times 3, so that's as little as a fifth, but as much as half. So if we're doing just averages, that's two-thirds. Two-thirds of the world's population died from the Black Plague. And there are some sources that say, this is speculation as well, but was the Black Plague caused by an asteroid? that had landed just before it happened. Did it change something in the atmosphere? I don't know. And then just recently, there was a report of an asteroid landing, I think in Puerto Rico or somewhere on the planet, but I believe it was there. Uh, is that related to this? Maybe. Hopefully, it won't be like the Black Plague. Continuing on. Here is an easy way to help. This is the new heading. I want to ask for your help. It is actually quite easy. Whenever you watch one of our videos, not this video, I mean, he's talking about his videos. I would like you to do the following each time. Click on the like button below the video. When you do this, it tells the advertisers that my audience is not just in one small location. Also, follow me on YouTube if you're not already doing so. That's Sightedmoon, Joseph Dumont on YouTube. The larger my audience on YouTube, the more my videos can demand as advertisers bid for the right to place an ad there. Number 3, there are sometimes 1 or 2 ads before each video now and then, during and sometimes at the end. I always used to hit skip after 5 seconds. Yeah, it's me too. I am now asking you to watch each commercial for at least 30 seconds or until the end, and then to click on the commercial to go to their link. When you do this, then the advertiser pays me each time you watch the videos. Sorry, let me reread that. When you do this, then the advertiser pays me each time to watch the whole commercial. Pays me each time you watch the whole commercial. Sorry, I'm reading it wrong. And also for you clicking on the commercial. When they see my audience reacting to the commercials, the bid price goes up for those who want to advertise on my videos. This is an added income for Sightedmoon.com to help us do the work, and it only costs you a few moments of your time. This is kind of funny because when I was a kid, just watching commercials on TV or looking at an ad, listening to a radio ad, you don't get money for that. You don't give money for that. All you give is your time. And I think there's a big problem with that on the internet when you have advertisers who gauge their profits on people watching videos and clicking. That isn't money. That's speculation. It's kind of like the stock market. Anyway, that's an aside. We currently have 15,910 subscribers on YouTube, and we typically have about 10,600 to 69,000 views per month. Wow. We are down about half this month for some reason. Well, I've been to the channel, and there aren't many new videos that are posted, so that's probably the reason. We also have about 70 groups of people with between 1 and 5 people watching us when we do a Zoom meeting. Yeah, the Zoom meetings are really good. We should do more of those regularly. And then those meetings get more videos when I post them. We would like to do more. In the comment section below, you can write and ask what you would like to see me teach on specifically, and I will consider it. I would like a teaching on, I don't know, what's really relevant right now. I don't know, I think what he's teaching is pretty good right now, at the moment. I don't know what's more relevant than what he's teaching, but something that's in my heart to do personally is do a series do a series or a blog or a vlog or write a book on the Brenton Septuagint, which is, I think that's the oldest version of the English Septuagint that we have, which contains so many discrepancies from the Masoretic text, which is what the King James and most Bible translations are based off of. So it's very, very eye-opening, and it really deserves, I think, its own book. But anyway, very few buy the DVDs anymore. Our YouTube site has been free since the beginning in 2014. We do not sell a monthly subscription in order for you to get the best information from us, or to get our newsletter, or for you to be part of the members only club. We do not demand you tithe to us. We do ask occasionally for your support for the things we are trying to do. We do sell our books and use that revenue to help this work. We also give away books and do not cry over the cost of doing this. Some people think I should work on writing the books for months at a time and then pay the editor to go through it 15 times, checking for all that they do cover. What? And then for me to pay the publisher the thousands that I've already put out, and to then cover the shipping cost as well, in order for them to have a free book, because they do not think it right that I am selling the word of God, as they put it. Yeah, it's a lot of work to write a book. Should a person sell a book? It's their choice. It's a free country. Should they give away a book for free? It's their choice, free country. Am I going to sell my book if I ever write a book? Probably will, because it took a lot of time, effort, and money to do that. So, I think it's only it's like a laborer is worthy of their wages kind of principle. Not that I want to get rich. I don't want to get rich off making books. I haven't even written my book yet. Anyhow, continuing on, I think it's just going to be a YouTube series of videos, realistically, but we'll see what happens. Where am I? The publisher and shippers do not work for free. True. And the people who say this are too lazy to do their own research, nor do they want to pay someone else who did spend the time. Like the 5 foolish virgins are told to go and buy the oil that they lack, these people just do not get it. So, in addition to donations that some of you send in, and we are grateful for each one, no matter the size, and in addition to any book sales that come in, I'm asking you all to help in this little way and watch those commercials or let them run while you get a coffee and click on them to again give us another stream of income. We also encourage you to tell others to get the book. It was a riddle, not a command. This book from Amazon right now in soft cover. It's really well put together. It's really soft. It's got a nice quality cover. Pages are pretty standard, but I mean, it's pretty cool. I like how it feels. I like the design. It's a little thicker than I thought it would be, so that's good. That would be kind of more like a mini booklet, but I'm going to enjoy reading this week. So Passover is going to be upon us soon, And the 3 days and 3 nights question will again be raised. And so will the 14th or 15th. That's always a topic that seems to come up, is the 14th or the 15th. We cover that in great detail in the book. Also the question about which moon to follow, the conjunction or the crescent moon to begin the month. Again, this book blows that argument out of the water from cover to cover. Yeah, it's really important. I feel like a lot of people, even people who are in the churches of God and other fellowships that people want to live by the Bible, basically, there is uh, there is an awareness that there is a new moon, but the definition of what is a new moon is the contention. Is it the conjunction? Is it a period of 3 days of darkness? Or is it the one day of the sliver of light, basically? How would you know something is there if you don't see it, right? So is a sign something to be seen or not? Anyway, that's just an aside. Get copies to give to your family or friends who still go to the church you used to attend. And all of you can leave a favorable comment for this book while at Amazon. Brethren, these are just some of the ways you can help us each month and each week. Pennies, nickels, and dimes all add up. Having now asked that of each of you, I have another request. I know there are some people out there who own and run large companies, and these people are doing things, preparing for the coming horrors we have been talking about all these years. They have not been donating to this work, but have been planning on how they can help in evacuating people when that time comes. They have written to me, and this is how I know. That's interesting. I ask that you take it upon yourself to pray. Pray in the morning service time. That's 6 a.m. Oh no, 9 a.m. That's 9 a.m., which is the third hour. Yeah, third hour. And the afternoon service time, which is what time? 6 p.m., right? No, 3 p.m., which is the ninth hour. And the noon hour time, that's 12 p.m., which is the sixth hour. Just as Daniel set us an example 3 times a day. He did. I believe David also said 7 times a day. Personally, I strive to do 7. Have I been good at that? No, I've been really bad. I need to improve that. At bare minimum, we can do the morning 9 a.m. prayer, 12 o'clock prayer, and 3 p.m. prayer at the bare minimum. I mean, Muslims do 5 times prayer, and that's a bar that they set, and I don't think we should neglect that. It has to be a very important part of our lives. We are in need of miracles now as we come to the start of the 2300 days of hell. We are looking for a school or campground from which to teach in the Philippines. We are looking to organize an executive what does that mean? We are looking to organize an executive. Oh, executive. But that will not be final until after Shavuot 2020. I don't know what executive means. It just doesn't make sense in that sentence. Maybe with an executive. I think that's what he meant. We're looking to organize with an executive. I'm asking you to pray for these large companies. We need help now to get ready. Pray for more supporters and pray for those not yet called to this Torah way of life to be called. Pray our videos go from the current 2.5 million views to 25 million views and then 250 million views on each video. It's a tall order, but anything's possible. Although the ad revenue would help, it has been about getting this message out there to the rest of our countries. Your country and mine. I am working on the newsletter each week. I'm editing in GarageBand our Zoom talk, and it is not yet done. I'm making and editing in Final Cut Pro another new video. I'm working on getting all of our books edited. Oh, nice. Let me read that again. This paragraph is really... I'm working on getting all of our books edited and switched over to Amazon. I should help with those. There's a lot of typos and things I noticed on the first readings of all the books. And switched over to Amazon and taking the color out of the prophecies of Abraham and making it black and white to make it more affordable for people to buy the book. The current prices are about $80 for the colored one. I think I bought a copy for, I think it was $50 from Ex Libris or something. But yeah, it would be nice to get a $20 one from Amazon with the new cover, which looks really, really cool, the new design. The current prices are about $80 for the colored one. Okay, I am trying to organize setting up a place to teach Torah in the Philippines and for people to live. Well, they have one, I believe, in Manila. And I think they also, I don't live there, but during Shabbat, people do arrive before Shabbat, I believe, and they stay there till after Shabbat. So that's pretty cool. To expand that into, just a thing where people can just go there as a refuge. That would be great, yeah. I still answer all my emails to admin@sightedmoon.com, as well as on Facebook, MEWE, the many groups on WhatsApp and LinkedIn. If you are on LinkedIn, then please do connect with me there also. I'm doing everything I can to teach people about the sabbatical and jubilee cycles, the holy days and the Sabbath, as well as the curses and the 2300 days of hell starting this year, and the 70th Jubilee of Daniel 9. And it too begins this year. I am doing all I can, and I am flat out, and much of the time worn out and tired. So are James, Pauline, and Jan. I'm asking all of you to help. Well, that's kind of like one of the reasons I'm doing this, because I realize there is a need. And yeah, I mean, one guy streaming on YouTube probably isn't going to help a big can't even talk. See, like one guy on YouTube but can't even talk. It's not going to be a big help, but at least I tried. A lot of people like to consume their information on YouTube rather than via newspaper or radio or TV. YouTube seems to be the weapon of choice. So that's why I'm doing this. It's another reason. I'm asking all of you to help. It is easy to watch an ad. It is easy to send in a few bucks and say you did your part. I'm asking you to pray like never before, to ask Jehovah to do a miracle, and have our videos and our books, to have our videos and or books. I think he meant our books reach millions. I'm asking you to share these teachings everywhere you can, to reach those few who are yet to begin this walk. Our time is almost over. I'm asking each of you to find a way to help, and I do not know how, but if you ask Jehovah, he will show you. I mean, that's, like I said, is one of the reasons I started doing this. I mean, typically I'll post videos on hockey or, mass media, something just secular. And I realize, that it's fun and all that, but that's one part of my life that isn't really the most important part of my life. So this is the first commandment is, you shall have no Elohim before my face. You should have no other gods before him. He's number one. He's got to be. Yeah, he's number one. And if I spend my time doing videos and foolishness, or things are just not important in the scheme of the big picture, what's it for, right? Like, this means something to me, and I hope it means something to others who feel the same. So if it doesn't, it's just it's a sign you either have the spirit or not. So, or being moved by new heading: tour Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Turkey. I just wanted to talk about what he just said. And time is running out, but at the same time, I really feel in my heart that he has already called, I'd say at least 1 million people, minimum, that are keeping Torah, that want to keep Torah. It's probably at least 1 million throughout this 7 billion, which is like what? Less than one. I don't know what percentage that is, but that's very small. We're a very small remnant alive today. And then those who died already, it's probably another, I don't know, maybe 10 million, just estimating there. So what happens to the rest of the world? Well, I think that the Church of God teaches something pretty reasonable. Like, it makes sense. It's logical that, the kingdom of Elohim, that people will be resurrected and they'll be taught the truth. Those who lived before Yeshua will get the opportunity to know him and to have the chance to accept him, to believe on him, and to follow him. So I don't think it's a numbers game, essentially, is what I'm saying. That we're just trying to, throw out the pearls to swine because there are people who just will not value it. Even on this YouTube video, this is public. Anyone can watch this. Anyone can search for this, but not everyone is going to be able to receive the words as I'm reading them, as I'm saying them. It's really up to the Father. So anyway, continuing on. Tour Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Turkey. Back in November, we shared with you a tour to Saudi Arabia to see the mountain that Jehovah was upon when he gave the Ten Commandments to Moses. That tour, hosted by Andrew Jones, begins in just over a month from now, on March 13th, 2020. We almost had a full group going with us. But since November, some have dropped out. So I want to again let you all know this tour is still available to go on. With the world conditions going the way they are, I do not expect this tour to be available for much longer. I hope I am wrong. I was considering going, but can't afford it. And things are getting a lot more unpredictable in the world. So to say that I could just go to Saudi Arabia, which I don't think is very Jewish friendly. Egypt, I don't know how they feel about Jews, probably not good. And Turkey, oh, definitely do not go there. I don't think I'd be welcome there in any of those three countries. So that's why I'm not going, besides the fact that I can't afford it. So I just don't see that being I don't foresee that being a good, it's like in Proverbs, a wise man foresees the danger and he hides himself. He flees. And that's what I'm doing. I'm not going to go. I'm going to avoid the trouble before, just preventative precautionary measures. Oh, I have to cancel my alarm. Let's extend this video another hour. The cost to do just the Saudi tour will be $1,900 plus your airfare from where you are to Riyadh and return. The cost to do Saudi and Egypt and see both sides of the Red Sea crossing is going to be $3,900. And the cost to go to also go to Turkey and see Noah's Ark is going to be $5,500 per person. How much is this trip? Each of these additional tours includes your airfare between countries. You have to pay to fly to Saudi and back from there, or back from Egypt, or back from Istanbul. And some in the group are then going on to Israel for Passover. Wow. I would not be able to afford that trip, even if I had $1 million. So I'd probably invest that money before going to those three countries. So how much is that? $1,900 for Saudi, and then $3,900. So it looks like what's that? $5,800. So all in all, it's gonna cost over $10,000 for this trip. That's what it sounds like to me. I don't know. Maybe my math is wrong, but 10 grand. That's like a wedding. Like a cheap wedding. Just imagine being amongst a few people in the entire world have been to Mount Sinai and the Split Rock. Imagine being amongst the few who have been to Nuweiba and seen the Red Crossing site. Then imagine you being one of the very few people in the entire world to have seen Noah's Ark, and you are doing it with like-minded brethren. I would have done it alone, but to have many others also join me who all think similarly, that will be awesome. We currently have 15 signed up and eager to go. Will your name be one of those joining us? We have openings right now. If you want to go, you can watch this short, amazing video. That's what YouTube is for. See, here's a video. It says here, it's a split rock. That's pretty cool. I think I'm satisfied watching the video, to be honest. Where I really want to go, like bucket list want to go, is Jerusalem. I want to go to Jerusalem and to the actual Temple Mount, which is not where the Wailing Wall is, which is Fort Antonio, but where it's supposed to be, where I believe it's just nearby anyway. I don't remember where, but it's not Wailing Wall. Okay. Tammy Goss just returned from this tour with her mother, and they went to all 3 sites. I will let Tammy tell you her thoughts on this trip of a lifetime. This journey was literally the exploration of a lifetime. This is not just a usual tour, as one might think, but a true Indiana, in brackets Andrew, Jones exploration experience. With the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Egypt extension, Mom and I traveled over 1,600 miles, seeing the most fascinating biblical sites ever. Where do I start? A testimonial of this once-in-a-lifetime experience. From climbing the split rock of Horeb in the Rephidim, standing in awe at the bottom of the blackened top, real Mount Sinai, walking in the animal chutes of Moses' altar, seeing the ancient wells the Israelites probably drank from, climbing on the level rock area with ancient Egyptian cow god petroglyphs of what is through to be the golden calf site. That doesn't make sense. Anyway, seeing the biggest archaeological area where a huge ancient grave site is located, where thousands were buried at once, to seeing the 12 wells that still exist to this day, as well, no pun intended, as well as many palm trees at Elim, the springs of Moses, the tombs of Jethro, being aboard a boat with cones on the water, looking for coral and chariot parts, standing where the Israelites went on dry land, through the Red Sea at Nuweiba, Egypt, to standing on the Saudi side where they continued their journey to the Holy Land, to seeing the Imhotep Pyramid, the oldest stone building in the world, where it is thought to be where Joseph stored the grain in Egypt. I could go on and on. Gotta say, snacks and drink immensely help in the keeping my throat from drying up. We stayed in some of the most lavish resorts when possible, with outstanding accommodations and food. This is really a trip of a lifetime for the biblical scholar. wants a true experience of where all these events took place, or a true adventurer that wants to travel to areas a few have traveled. I am forever grateful to Ron Wyatt and Mary Nell and Randall Lee and Jim and Penny Caldwell for their initial and ongoing research of these sites. I'm very great. I'm very grateful for Andrew's assistant, Seth Walsh, who always made sure we were doing great, and I am forever grateful to our guide, Andrew Jones, for continuing in the footsteps of Ron Wyatt. Because of him, we were blessed to walk in the footsteps of Moses. Yeah, actually, that description makes me want to go, but again, I can't afford it, but that's pretty cool. The following pictures are all courtesy of Tammy Goss, who did this tour with her mother. Oh, it was a nice picture of a sunrise or set with mountains. Really nice. Split rock. Oh, these are really nice pictures. They could all be like desktops. Next picture. So this rock split in two. I wonder, how did that rock split in two in the first place? Is that how Moses hit the rock and split in two and the water came out? Is that, if that's what happened, this is the actual rock where the water came out. I always pictured it being small, like a small rock, but if this is the actual rock, it split in two and water came out. I mean, that's a lot of water. It makes sense. Can't be out of a tiny rock. Where Moses was supposed to speak to the rock. I don't know which one it is, but interesting nonetheless. It's a mountain. Okay, Frank and Sense, new heading. Last Shabbat, I gave you an article in prayer, and I shared with you the Ketoret and how it was made. Yeah, that's the that fragrance. Do you remember how it was made? This week I am asking you to pray earnestly for this work and to offer your Ketoret before Jehovah on our behalf. Yeah, we're not supposed to make this Ketoret or else we'll be cursed, so I'm not going to make this Ketoret, but definitely going to pray. Should definitely pray. I was asking you all to pray last week and to do so in a way your prayers would be heard. I was also showing you how your prayers are the offerings of our lips. 2 weeks ago, we talked about the dark room and the depression that many of us are feeling. At the end of the Shabbat here in Ontario, we had our Zoom meeting in which I wanted to address these concerns about what was coming and whether or not you understood the times we are in. One question led to another, and then another. And then they led to the witnesses and who they might be. I do my best here to answer every question sent to me personally. I try to do the same on Facebook, LinkedIn, Proton Mail, WhatsApp, Mew, not as much, and other sources that some people used to talk to me through. Chan does a lot of teaching and explaining on Mew, which is why I'm not there so much. Pauline used to do a lot on our Sightedmoon.com Facebook site until the censor police took it down. James is still dealing with depression and is writing his way out. Yeah, I've dealt with depression too. I think the big cure for that is being thankful and grateful and not focusing on ourselves. It's definitely a problem that seems to plague most of North America and Europe, a lot of developing or first world nations, where a lot of the things that we're depressed about are wants and not needs. As someone had put it, I think that's Steve Berkson said that one of his latest teachings. I think it was Darkness and Light. He talked about that. James is still dealing with depression and is writing his way out. I say that so you know I do not have him at this time to talk with and mull over all the weighty matters that are now before us. Many of you send me videos to watch, very many of you. It would seem some of you think I have all kinds of time just to sit around and watch every video that comes across your computer with no explanation as to why I should watch all of them. Others want me to read their books they wrote and critique them. I'm currently trying to read 2 short ones and have a hard time doing that. Others want me to join them about some topic they are interested in and debate them, or others they draw in. They too assume I have nothing else to do and would love to jump at all these various opportunities. And still, others want me to read a book or watch a 2-hour teaching and tell them why that book or that teaching is wrong. They just can't see it, but that book or teaching challenges what I am saying, and they think the video or book shows me to be in error, but they can't prove it themselves. So, what I investigated for them. That's a good question. It's an important point. Joseph is doing a work on Sightedmoon.com. For him to go through every video, biblical video, and books and material that are based on lies that are false would be a wrong way to do things. It's better that he focuses on the truth instead of counterfeits or half-truths. I'm not saying everything is a lie, but there's a lot of material out there. Let me throw one out there, for example, like the lunar Sabbath, that the Sabbath isn't Friday sunset to Saturday sunset. It's actually the 7th day of whatever month we're in. The 7th and the 14th, 21, 28, and then it resets again. That one can be easily refuted and disproven. So for him to waste his time on things like that, of that nature, would be a big waste of time. And I just don't think that's the way that Yah would have it. So that's my aside there. Others write to bait me with a question about the Book of Enoch or Book of Jubilee, I think Jubilees, and get offended when I tell them the truth about it. And if I do not respond, they think I do not have an answer to their trick questions. Sigh. Excuse me. This last week, a new person reached out in desperate need of advice. Her father had recently died, and she was in a terrible fight with her husband because she was now walking this walk, and they were losing their friends at home and at church. Her letter ripped my heart out, knowing exactly how she felt and what was going on, and even what was not said. She had no one to talk with about all the changes she was experiencing. This is who I want to talk with. This is what is important. I also had a long talk with Jan as she explained to me things she thought I may not have known, which I did. Pauline and I talk often as we try new methods to get this message out, and she too is concerned about me, as was Jan. Yeah, another reason I'm doing this is to get the message out, pretty much. So, I mean, I try. I'm just gonna keep saying that's my line. Yeah, I try. I got one viewer. I don't know who that is. Could be YouTube censor. I don't know. My wife has told me to sell the house. Wow, this got serious. Let me just do that last sentence. Pauline and I talk often as we try new methods to get this message out, and she too is concerned about me, as was Jan. My wife, my wife, boy, I can't talk. My wife has told me to sell the house, and we will split it down the middle. I would then go to the Philippines or wherever, and she would go live with the kids. None of my kids talk with me or come to visit. My daughter is the exception, but I met with the real estate Friday before Shabbat. Real estate. What do you call them? Agent? Broker? Like you, I see the monumental movements in geopolitics, and am stunned to witness prophecy in action before our very eyes. Floored, like you, I have been playing this religion game of trying to understand Jehovah's word and being a good person and failing miserably. I told James to add the countdown clocks to the website. He told me repeatedly that that would be a death knell to the ministry. What if nothing happens? He asked. What if it does? I said. So the clocks on the website are there, and the countdown keeps winding down, and each time I look at it, I shudder. Time is just flying by. I read older newsletters looking for some information on this or that, and I see myself warning that we then had 15 years, then 10 years, and then 7, and 4, and 3, and 2, and 1, and now we have just a few months until we arrive at that one infamous day. The middle of the 70th week of Daniel, the middle of the 120th Jubilee cycle since the creation of Adam, the start of the 7 years of plenty for the whore Europe, the start of the 2300 days spoken of in Daniel 8, in which the saints are going to be hunted and killed by the whore. That sequence of numbers that starts with this one day after Shavuot 2020 and then leads to the end of the tribulation when Satan is locked away, yea, and the Messiah comes, but the whole world is all but wrecked, just as it said, except for those were not shortened, those days were not shortened, no flesh would be saved alive. Yeah, that's definitely another reason I'm doing these videos, because if Joseph Dumond is right, then we don't have much time. We need to get our lives right with God, number one, and make some preparations. I'm not saying to buy a fallout shelter and all that kind of thing, but number one, be right with Him and right with each other. If we do those two things, seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, then all the things we need will be given to us. And I used to think that, man, I didn't think it would get so serious all of a sudden, but yeah, it's like confession time. But I didn't think that I'd feel this way about martyrdom. But if it's your or my destiny to become a martyr, that's actually a great honor, one of the greatest honors we can be bestowed with, because to lose your life for the cause of the kingdom as a follower of Yahushua, you give everything and you will get back more than you expect or can ever dream. I mean, that's what the disciples did, right? They really did. They took everything that they had and they threw it away. They left it all, to the point that they would even give their lives. I don't think they get enough credit. You think about it that way. They call him Doubting Thomas and all that, but when he gave up to be a follower of Yeshua. Anyway, that's just an aside. I have asked for help, and when I do ask, no one writes back. I've told you all to spread this message, and some have in their limited means. Well, that's kind of like what I'm doing right now. Only to be told where to go and just how crazy they and I all are. Others do not do anything to help. Gonna do it like this. See if this works. The lighting is a little messed up. Years ago, people would ask me, where do we go to escape? And I would say, to Jerusalem, because it says that we are to flee from there into Moab, where we would be hidden for time and half a time during the Great Tribulation. At the very end, trouble was the state of Israel wanted us to come there and spend our money on tours, but did not want us to stay. We tried to start a school there, and we built a vineyard to build a bridge back to the land. The thing is, we are not welcome as Torah believers in Yeshua there. And very few who choose to become Jewish are able to migrate there, but are under constant watch for a number of years to see if they go back to the Christian ways and then get the boot out of the country. Wow. Then in 2018, I was asking Jehovah, where do we go and what do we do? I saw, and I showed all of you Isaiah It's Isaiah 11, 10 and 11. It's saying, oh, yeah. We walk through each of those places that he mentioned in Isaiah to learn where they were and to learn from where the remnant would come back from. You were excited and you were happy and sad. All of you saw this. And we looked at all the places around the world to see which ones qualified to be coasts of the sea. Coasts of the sea. Now the time has come. We are just months away from Shavuot 2020, the infamous date we have been talking about now since 2005. In our Zoom meeting a few weeks ago, I could hear the anxiousness of many people. I think it's anxiety, but some are pulling back to distance themselves just in case. What am I going to do? I'm not going to pull back. As you can see, I'm not. If I'm pulling back, I wouldn't be doing this video. Hear the bleating of sheep, the bleating of panic from many of you as the darkness approaches and covers the whole world. My belief is this, that if Joseph is right, and we only have X amount of time, and we really do, we only have, if it doesn't happen this year, it's going to happen very soon. We don't have 100 years, I know that. When this time comes, because I know it will, just as when you have a cup and water drips into it drop by drop, but you're waiting for the cup to spill over, and it just never seems to. You just come up and close and personal. Yeah, you have a cup and water drips into it drop by drop, and you don't know how big the cup is, just like we don't know when the time will come. But we know it's coming because the cup only has guidelines, it has physics, it is restrained by, and we too, Adam, sons of Adam, we also have a limit. And I believe Yadid said that in Genesis chapter 6, he said that my spirit will not always put up with man. Basically, he set on us a limit of 120 cycles of time. $5,880 years, if I'm not mistaken. We only have 25 years. Think about that. We have a quarter of a century to go in which our age is done. And it's a good thing. I always thought that, well, not always, but I think one of the first feelings people come up with, or that they feel when we talk about apocalyptic events, when we talk about end time period, the end of the world, is that it's fight or flight. And I've noticed vast majority of people are flight. I don't know if it's just the society we live in where a lot of people are cucked. A lot of people are, especially men, are not men anymore. Uh, Kids are not being taught to have respect, are not taught to be brave. People are not taught anymore, and it's not promoted to do anything and be people of action and integrity and initiative. We're all bystanders. And I think the buck stops there with me. I'm not going to just sit idly by and do nothing. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing this video and these live streams, is because when push comes to shove, when these catastrophes and the global conditions, everything around us, physically and spiritually, is simply decaying and devolving and degrading, the darkness grows. But the greater the darkness, the greater the light to come. The more degraded, the more debased, the more decayed the state of everything is, the more glorious and pure and righteous and godly things will be. So you see, the age of man is not, it's not doom and gloom. The end of the age of man is not, it's not only suffering and death. It's a necessary means. Just like, it's like if Yehoshua came to earth and, you know, he knew how he was going to die. All he focused on was, oh no, I'm going to die and be crucified and be scourged and humiliated, and people are going to leave me and flee. My disciples are going to leave me. My close friends for 3 years are just going to abandon me and want to dissociate themselves from me and deny any association with me. That in itself is very, very, that can break somebody big time. But did he focus on that? I think if he did, I don't think he would be able to go through what he did, to follow through. I think he focused on the big picture, that his mission was to do his Father's will. That's it's a fact, because in his words when he died was, "It is done, it is finished." He did mission accomplished. On his mind was the mission, preaching the gospel of the kingdom of God, and not only preaching it, but he lived it and died for it and died for us. That's his focus. It was his primary directive, primary objective was to get that done, to be the lamb slain from the foundation of the world. That term is just thrown around so casually, but the sacrifice that was reserved since before the Genesis creation story. That's what it is technically. If we're going to get really technical about it, it's not just the lamb slain before the foundation of the world. He's the, for all the wrongs we've done, every single human being that's ever lived, or if there's just one, if it was just me on planet, he is reserved to die because of me and because of you and because of all the wrongs we've done against Elohim. Do we understand how vast that is. That's this video is just. I mean, it is Shabbat. It is blessed holy time. And just meditating on this right now, like you can see why David wrote what he did. It says, you know, how love I your Torah. It is my meditation all the day in my thoughts. He was obsessed with it. It was his constantly on his mind and his mouth and his heart, and he prayed constantly. He was constantly giving thanks to our Father. Anyway, the point was that as times get harder, times will either break people or they'll make people. And for me, I want to be one who rises up to the challenge that, if Yah wills, that I would be someone who would stand for him. And it's not just a matter of saying it, it's a matter of doing it. Because let's say, my intention is to do this, right? But if I'm breaking his law all the time and I'm lukewarm and wishy-washy and just am ashamed of being who I am, it's not going to happen. You can have the best intentions. It's not going to work out for you to do that, because you've failed in small tests and you'll fail in bigger ones. But if I pass the small test, with his help, of course, only with his help and by his grace, then yeah, he'll use me as an instrument, as a soldier, as whatever he needs me to be in this end time. And these are the end times. It's been the end times since Yehoshua ascended back into heaven. A lot of people don't realize, but really think about it. Really think about this, okay? One of the biggest, largest, world-changing events that ever took place was Yehoshua taking the form of Adam, mankind, and dying, and then going back to heaven. That had to happen first before the end time can happen, which is basically the putting away of Satan. But all these other events happen, horrible, I don't have the words, catastrophic events, will happen because of his anger, Satan's anger, and he knows he has a short time, so it's going to take it out on us. And those who love Torah, or those who keep Torah, obey it, and have the testimony of Yehoshua. Whew, that was a big aside. So I'm not going to end the video now, but continue reading. What I'm going to do is maybe I'll start a new live stream. I think I'll do that. Okay. Forget, I'll keep going. So we left off here. I hear the bleating of sheep, the bleating of panic from many of you as the darkness approaches and covers the whole world. And then it says here, the Lord is my shepherd, Psalm 23. Okay, this psalm was the theme of a book given to me at the Feast of Tabernacles in 1994. The lady who gave me this book wrote in it, Dear Joe, have a joyous feast. This is your instruction manual for becoming a good shepherd. All our love, Linda, Karen, Brenda, Susie, Nancy, Ann, and Johnny. This book comes from what I lovingly called them, which was the Gosling family. I don't know if I know them. Because each time during the services, this family would get up to go to the washroom. Oh, and then each child would rise and follow the mother in the proper order, going from the oldest and tallest to the youngest. This woman suffered at the hands of her husband for choosing to walk this walk. She had a gun shoved into her mouth, and her life threatened multiple times. Yet each Sabbath she would shut down and go off to some service, and at Sukkot come to the feast with a tent and a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter. And they would have the most fun as a family at each feast. I asked them if I could take them out for dinner. My wife made a big stink, so I sent a long white limo to pick the whole family up. And I found another family who could not afford a fancy restaurant to go with them for the company, and they all had an awesome time. I saw them drive by as I went with my family to where my wife wanted to go by ourselves. Anyway, this lady got me this book about being a shepherd. A shepherd looks at the Good Shepherd and his sheep by Keller, and it revolves around Psalm 23. And I just found it as I was thinking about all that has been said this past few weeks. I never wanted to be a shepherd, especially one working for Jehovah. Much like Gideon, I doubted everything that has come to pass, and I just wanted to hide somewhere. This is Judges chapter 6, 11 to 23. You know what, I'm going to read this just for the sake of, I feel it's very relevant, so I'm going to, some things I won't read, some things I will, so I'm going to read it from my Brenton Septuagint. See what it says there. Judges chapter 6. Verses 1, 11 to 23. Okay, here we go. And an angel of Jehovah came and sat down under the fir tree which was in Ephrathah, in the land of Joas, father of Esdri, and Gideon his son, threshing wheat in a winepress in order to escape from the face of Madian. And the angel of Jehovah appeared to him and said to him, Jehovah with you, you mighty in strength. And Gideon said to him, with me, my Lord. But if Jehovah is with us, why have these evils found us? And where are all his miracles? And where are all his miracles which our fathers have related to us, saying, did not Jehovah bring us up out of Egypt? And now he has cast us out and given us into the hand of Madian. And the angel of Jehovah turned to him and said, go in this thy strength, and thou shalt save Israel out of the hand of Madian. Behold, I have sent thee. And Gideon said to him, be gracious with me, my Lord, whereby shall I save Israel? Behold, my 1,000 is weakened in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house. And the angel of Jehovah said to him, Jehovah shall be with you, and thou shalt smite Madian as one man. And Gideon said to him, if now I have found mercy in thine eyes, and thou wilt do this day for me all that thou hast spoken of with me, depart not hence until I come to thee, and I will bring forth an offering and offer it before thee. And he said, I will remain until thou return. And Gideon went in and prepared a kid of the goats and an ephah of fine flour unleavened. Just want to say that, yeah, it's true that meat is definitely a luxury food. It's not something you just eat every day. You only do that in the presence of like a royalty or someone, a person of distinction and great honor, and you're trying to honor them. That's one of the few times you'd eat meat. Okay, that's done. So he prepared a kid of the goats and an ephah of fine flour unleavened. And he put the flesh in the basket and poured the broth into the pot and brought them forth to him under the turpentine tree and drew near. Sounds like a good soup. And the angel of Elohim said to him, take the flesh and the unleavened cakes and put them on that rock and pour out the broth close by. And he did so. And the angel of Jehovah stretched out the end of the rod that was in his hand and touched the flesh and the unleavened bread. And fire came up out of the rock. Fire came out of the rock and consumed the flesh and the unleavened bread. And the angel of Jehovah vanished from his sight. And Gideon saw that he was an angel of Jehovah. And Gideon said, Ah, Jehovah, my Elohim, for I have seen the angel of Jehovah face to face. And Jehovah said to him, peace be to you, fear not, you shall not die. And Gideon built there an altar, shalom be to you. And Gideon built there an altar to Jehovah and called it Shalom of Jehovah until this day, as it is still in Ephrathah of the father of Esdri. Wow. Yeah, it's pretty big. It's a big story. All right. I'm gonna use a book to prop up my laptop because I don't feel good about it being the way it is. Really should have prepared this before the stream, but I guess we'll have to put up with my Alright, this was before. Whoop, what just happened there? So this was before, it looked like this. Hold on. This is before and this is after. Upgrade. It's a little bit better, I would like to think. All right. This week's newsletter is going to be a long one. It's been 2 hours, and I've had a lot of asides, so it's more just me, I guess, distracting myself from these. I hear the nervousness of everyone and the tension as the days tick by. The concerns about going to a new sheepfold in another country. I could not stop thinking of this book and began to read it and then had to share it with you. For some in the Philippines, they may never have heard this story, so I include it for them. For many of you, it will be a calming reminder of who we are and what is being done for us. The sheepfold number 1. That's the heading. Try to move it a bit there. because it's a little bit better. All right, this series of chapters is taken from Keith Hunt's blog with some of his comments, setting the stage. Before we begin our study of this section of Scripture, it is essential to set the stage on which our Lord stated the three parables contained in John 10. Only in this way can we comprehend clearly the truths he was teaching. His own contemporaries, those to whom he addressed these ideas, were totally baffled by them. In fact, his hearers were so bewildered that some accused him of being mad or under the control of an evil spirit. They insisted that such statements as he made, deserved death by stoning. On the other hand, there were those who, having just seen him restore sight to the young man born blind, felt sure that what he said contained truth. It was bound to, since he could perform such miracles. What? Who is this guy? What are they talking about in this story? Oh, talking about Yeshua, okay. I thought they were talking about the author. So it was that a storm of controversy raged around Mashiach. It says Christ. I'm going to say Mashiach. People were polarized by his parables. Similarly, Trump's tweets polarized people too. Some said he deserved to die. Others hailed him as a savior. A lot of divisive figures tend to have that effect on people. You're not on the fence, you're either one way or the other. Down the long centuries of time, since that desperate day in which he declared himself to be the Good Shepherd, the controversy has continued over what he really meant. Scholars, teachers, theologians, academics, and preachers have all applied themselves to this passage of Scripture. Commentaries and books of various kinds have dealt with these parables. The diversity of views and explanations given leave one almost as perplexed as the people of Yeshua's own time. Consequently, it is no easy thing to be invited to do a book on John 10. Yet, it has been undertaken in humility and with the full knowledge of what others have written previously. It is not intended to discredit what has been drawn from these parables by other teachers. They are fully entitled to their views. But it should be said at the outset that the approach which I have taken is a very distinct personal one. It is based not on the concept of the nation Israel, referred to in the Old Testament as God's flock, the people of his fold, nor on the New Testament emphasis of the church being Mashiach's little flock, but rather on my simple belonging to him as an individual. The reasons for this are neither theological nor doctrinal. They are the practical realities of the setting and events in which these statements were made by Mashiach. And if, with open minds and gently receptive spirits, we look at what transpired during the days immediately preceding this passage, it will be seen that the personal approach is valid. Yehoshua was nearing the end of his public life. An increasing hostility was building up against him from the ecclesiastical elite of his time. An increasing hostility was building up against him from the ecclesiastical elite of his time. The religious leaders of his day felt threatened by his enormous popularity and appeal to the common people. The plain people applauded him openly. His winsome words drew them with magnetic and positive power. I'm sorry, I can't help but see so many parallels to President Trump and Jesus, basically. I'm not saying he's Jesus, but so many parallels, you can't deny it. Anyhow, continuing on. This continuous polarization around Mashiach created a constant storm center of controversy. The scribes, Sadducees, and Pharisees tried every tactic to attack him whenever he appeared in public. The masses, on the other hand, came to love him with great affection. His healing, helping, and hardening life had restored and lifted so many of them. He entered Jerusalem to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles, or Booths, with his men. It was a festival commemorating Jehovah's care of his people during their long wilderness wanderings, after their exodus from Mitzrayim. The Master immediately came under attack. In John 7, we see some claiming him to be a good man, others insisting he was a deceiver. And they would have lynched him if they could, but his hour of arrest had not yet come. Then, on the last day of the feast, he was assailed again. Some asserted he was truly the Mashiach. His antagonists, on the other hand, claimed that Mashiach could not possibly come from Galilee. Officers were sent to arrest him, but failed to do so, declaring instead, "Never a man spoke like this man." That's my alarm. I'm going overtime. So once more he was spared from the clutches of his opponents. On the next day, the 8th day, or the great feast day, Keith Hunt, he returned to the city and was confronted by the scribes and Pharisees with a young woman caught in an illicit sexual relationship. She was to be stoned, but to bait Yehoshua, the frightened girl, was brought to him. I set my alarm. Instead of condemning her, he forgave her, but instructed her to go and sin no more. The girl's accusers were furious. They engaged in a dreadful diatribe with Yehoshua, in which he insisted upon his oneness with the Father. For this they again determined to stone him to death, yet he eluded them and escaped. All of this is described in John 8. Later he was met by a man blind from birth. In a remarkable manner, he touched the sightless eyes. The blind man saw when he went to bathe them in the pool of Siloam, as instructed. Out of deep gratitude, the healed man gave glory and praise to his benefactor. This precipitated another angry controversy with the religious skeptics and leaders. Because he believed in the Mashiach, the poor fellow was excommunicated from the religious life of his people. Yehoshua met him again and declared his own identity. The healed man was ecstatic and overwhelmed with adoration. But to the Pharisees, our Lord declared bluntly that they were both blind and steeped in sin and self-righteousness. All their religiosity had done them not one bit of good. It is on this pathetic theme that John 9 concludes. In blazing bold contrast, Mashiach had personally touched and entered both the lives of the young adulteress and this supposedly sinful blind man. He had brought them into an intimate, new relationship of abundant living with himself. Yeah, it's true. It's not like they went looking for him. Even like his disciples, they didn't come looking for him. He went to seek them out. Circumstances, or should we say providence, made those things work out. And I feel like for a lot of believers that it's not, we like to give credit to ourselves, I find, a lot of the time. Like I'll say that, yeah, I started reading the Bible at 17. I'll keep saying that. But the thing is, let me rephrase it. When I was 17, God put it in my heart to want to read the Bible. He took a searchlight and was looking for me. And he's done that to a lot of people in the faith who are really, really committed, and they have it on their heart to just do what he wants them to do. It's pretty deep when you really think about it that way. So he had brought them into an intimate new relationship of abundant living with himself. Put into the language of the New Testament, these two individuals had discovered what is meant by Mashiach in me and I in Mashiach. They had both entered into that dynamic, new dimension of living, which Mashiach himself later referred to as abiding in me and I in you. And note again, it was the last great feast day that this all took place, the time when the multitudes of the spiritually blind who are not called to repentance in their lifetime will be raised in the white throne judgment day of Revelation 20 and be given the Bible. The book of life will be opened to them. They will see the truths of Elohim. They will be given a chance of seeing salvation laid before them. If they will, their blinded eyes of the mind will see the great shepherd, and they will accept him as their personal savior. Key thought. To depict and dramatize this remarkable relationship with himself, he then proceeded to tell the three parables of the shepherd and his sheep in the next chapter. By contrast, in Psalm 23, David the author writes from the standpoint of a sheep speaking about its owner. In John 10, the approach is the opposite. Our Lord, Yahushua HaMashiach, here speaks as the Good Shepherd. He describes his relationship to his sheep, we the common people who have come into his ownership and under his care. Well, actually, these topics, every Shabbat, they get more and more intense and relevant. And I think that's why it's been put to my heart, not only just to read them, and not just for my own benefit, but hopefully for someone else's benefit who, doesn't have access to reading or illiterate or, they're driving and they don't want to just read it because they're unable to read. So they have to focus on driving or traveling. So as here, he describes his relationship to his sheep. We, the common people, have come into his ownership and under his care. So this is John chapter 10, verse 1. And then it says here, what is a sheepfold? It is an enclosure open to the wind. It is an enclosure open to the scrutiny of the owner. It is an enclosure not covered in, roofed over, or shielded from the eyes of the shepherd. It is not a barn, shed, or closed-in structure. Its walls open to the sun, the sky, stars, rain, and wind may be made of rough-laid stones, sun-dried bricks, timber, mud, and wattle, or even tightly packed thorn brush, a coral in some places, a kraal in others, and a boma in parts of Africa. The main purpose of the sheepfold is to provide protection for the sheep, especially at night and in stormy weather. Its high, thick walls are a barrier that prevents thieves, or, to use a modern parlance, rustlers from invading the flock to plunder the defenseless sheep. The enclosing walls are also a safeguard for the sheep against all sorts of predators. These vary depending upon the country in which the sheep are kept. In some areas, it is a case of keeping out wolves or jackals. In others, especially parts of Africa, lions, leopards, and even hyenas are guarded against. Even then, despite the barricade of thorn brush, there are occasions when predators will prowl around a sheepfold stealthily, searching for some spot where they can leap over the enclosure to capture and kill their prey. I feel like this is the longest stream I've done. I think we're going to hit the... Anyway. This produces panic among the flock. The carnage is terrifying, and the losses among the flock can be enormous. For the sheep owner, the raids on his sheep represent serious financial reverses, which may take years to recover. Well, that's not good. had a neighbor whose flock was raided one night by a cougar. By daybreak, more than 30 of his finest ewes lay dead on the ground. Fences and walls had been cleared by the powerful predator without it ever passing through a gate or open door. Sheepfold, besides being the name for an enclosure where sheep are generally kept at night, is also a term for managing sheep. In sheep countries, we often speak freely of folding sheep. By that, we mean the much wider sense in which a flock of sheep are said to be enfolded by a certain owner or sheepman. Sheepman? Isn't it shepherd? The sheep come under his special management and his direct control continuously. He folds his flock exactly as he sees fit, in order that they will flourish and prosper under his care. Folding sheep is another way of saying a shepherd is managing his flock with maximum skill. It is to say that he handles them with expertise, moving them from field to field, pasture to pasture, range to range, in order to benefit them as much as he can, as well as to enhance his own land. So a sheepfold conveys the idea of the special relationship a sheep has to the ownership and care of a certain shepherd. And when our Lord, who referred to himself as the Good Shepherd, spoke these parables, he saw the overall picture of the unique relationship between himself and his followers, between himself and those who had come under his good hand for the management of their lives. He begins this first parable by asserting that anyone who forces a way into the sheepfold other than by the proper doorway or entrance may be a thief or robber. In other words, he is saying that my life is a sheep. Hold on. He is saying that my life is a sheepfold to which he alone, the Good Shepherd, is the rightful owner. Within the fold of my life, there are all kinds of people who come in and out. There are the members of my immediate family circle, my wife, children, grandchildren, cousins, or more distant relatives. Then there are friends, neighbors, business associates, schoolmates, or strangers who from time to time pass in and out of the circle of my life. In reality, none of our lives are totally closed in, roofed over, and so completely sealed and safeguarded as to forestall the entry of others. Each of us is a sheepfold in our own private, individual way. We are within a fold, a circle, a life, which really cannot be roofed over. It is true, some of us may have high walls of self-defense erected around us. We may even go so far as to try and enclose ourselves completely to forestall invasion from others. And we may feel we have actually succeeded in this. However, we may fool ourselves into believing that we can withdraw into our own secluded little domain where we are exempt from the entrance and intrusion of others. Mashiach's assertion is that, in fact, this is simply not possible. It is true, I am in an enclosure. It is true, I live within the limited circle, which, however, is shared by others who enter it. But over and beyond this, my life is surrounded and enfolded by the encircling care and provision of a providential Elohim. Nor is it closed off from his loving care and concern. It is, in fact, wide open to the wind of his gracious spirit. There is no way he can be kept out, any more than the wind blowing across the countryside can be kept out of an open sheepfold. The truth that there is no one anywhere who can escape or elude the coming of God's Spirit is portrayed in exquisite detail in Psalm 139. There is no way known to man in which he can prevent the gracious presence of God's Spirit from making an impact on the fold of his life. We are surrounded by him. We are found by him. We are touched by him. His impact is upon us. We are beneath the influence of his hand, his person, his presence. Psalm 139, verses 1 to 13 or 12. O Jehovah, it says here, for the end. A Psalm of David. O Jehovah, you have proved me and known me. You know my downsitting and mine uprising. You understand my thoughts long before. You have traced my path and my bed, and hast foreseen all my ways. For there is no unrighteous word in my tongue. Behold, O Jehovah, you have known all things, the last and the first. Thou hast fashioned me, and laid thine hand upon me. The knowledge of thee is too wonderful for me. It is very difficult. I cannot attain to it. Whither shall I go from thy spirit? And whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I should go up to heaven, thou art there. If I should go down to Sheol, thou art present. If I should spread my wings to fly straight forward, and sojourn at the extremity of the sea, it would be vain. For even there thy hand would guide me, and thy right hand would hold me. When I said, surely the darkness will cover me, even the night was light in my luxury. For darkness will not be darkness with thee, but night will be light as day. As its darkness, so shall its light be to thee. In the light of all this, we must conclude quietly that, though we may be able to exclude others from our lives, to a degree we cannot do this with Mashiach. He comes to us again and again seeking entry. It's a beautiful psalm. Didn't even finish it. It goes up to verse 24. I'll just read the rest. It's really beautiful. For thou, O Lord, for thou, O Jehovah, hast possessed my reins. Thou hast helped me from my mother's womb. I will give thee thanks, For thou art fearfully wondrous. Wondrous are thy works, and my soul knows it well. Wait a minute, what? What did I just read? There's another difference here. Psalm 139, okay. I just found a difference right here online, live, before you. That's not what the King James says. So whenever there's a discrepancy, I always go with the Brentons. It's older. Psalm 139, verse 14. It says here in the King James, I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. Brenton's, verse 14 says, I will give thee thanks, for thou, hold on, I will give thee thanks, for thou art fearfully wondrous. Wondrous are thy works, and my soul knows it well. And here it says, I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Whereas here it says, for thou art fearfully wondrous, and your works are wondrous, marvelous. Oh, I finally get it. The reason they put I am is because his name is I am. I will praise you, for Jehovah fearfully and wonderfully works. See? Maybe that's why, but anyway. Yep, okay, where am I? Yeah, okay, let's finish this song. My bones which thou madest in secret, were not hidden from thee, nor my substance in the lowest parts of the earth. Thine eyes saw my unwrought substance, and all men shall be written in thy book. They shall be formed by day, though there should for a time be no one among them. What? Oh man, what does King James say? That does not sound familiar at all. Your eyes saw my unwrought substance. That's 16. Your eyes did see my substance. Wow. Yet being unperfect. Okay. And all men shall be written in your book. And in your book all my members are written, which in continuance were fashioned. And as yet there was none of them. What? That doesn't make any sense. So King James says, in your book all my body parts were written, which were made, and yet there was none of them. That's a riddle. That's actually a riddle. Because the Septuagint, this becomes a riddle, but in the Septuagint it's clear. It says here, all men shall be written in your book, like the book of life, and they shall be formed by day, though there should for a time. Well, that's included, so we'll take that. I think when it's italic, it means it's inserted, so it should read, and all shall be written in your book. They shall be formed by day, though be no one among them. I don't know. It's a puzzling thing. But thy friends, O Elohim, have been greatly honored by me. Their rule has been greatly strengthened. I will number them, and they shall be multiplied beyond the sand. I awake, and am still with thee. What? That doesn't say that here. How precious also are thy thoughts unto me, O Elohim. How great is some of them. That is not what it says in Septuagint. O that thou wouldest slay the wicked, O Elohim, depart from me, you men of blood. For thou wilt say concerning thought, they shall take thy cities in vain. Have I not hated them, O Jehovah, that hate thee, and wasted away because of thine enemies? I have hated them with perfect hatred. They were counted my enemies. Prove me, O Elohim, and know my heart. Examine me, and see if way of iniquity in me, and lead me in an everlasting way. So that's talking about the way, that Hadaric. You can really call this religion Hadaric. I also want to say as an aside that, okay, it's 2 minutes, 2 hours, 26 minutes. One of the videos I'll be doing on the differences between the Septuagint, Brenton's Septuagint, and the King James or Masoretic text is what I just read there. There's a section talking about the heart. It says, I believe it's in Jeremiah, it says, the heart is desperately wicked, who can know it? Does not say that in the Septuagint at all, which means that men's hearts are not wicked. Men's hearts are men's hearts. They can be good, they can be bad. Truth is, because we chose the tree of knowing the knowledge, learning the knowledge of good and evil, men's hearts are good and evil. That's our hearts, good and evil, to mix, but we can't have mixture. So anyway, I'm just gonna wrap up this little section here. Okay, in the light of all this, we must conclude quietly that though we may be able to exclude others from our lives to a degree, we cannot do this with Mashiach. He comes to us again and again seeking entry. True, if you are being called of Elohim, what Keller did not understand is that Elohim is not calling everyone to himself in this lifetime. Excuse me. Psalm 139 was from David. David, a man called of Elohim to be his child. Then indeed there is no hiding from him anywhere. The truth of the matter is that Jehovah is not giving salvation to the masses. Most today are spiritually blind. Only the election of grace can know the Good Shepherd. See Romans 9 through 11. There is a plan of salvation being worked out by the Father. All will have a chance for salvation in the time frame that is of Elohim. All will have a chance for salvation. This plan of salvation is fully explained and expounded upon in studies on this website, Keith Hunt. He does not force his way in. He does not gate crash my life or yours. He chooses to enter. He chooses to enter by the proper entrance, which is really his privilege. Yet he is so gracious in requesting our cooperation in this. One thing I noticed is that my throat isn't drying up at all. It's really good. It's good to have these seaweeds. Still, in fear and apprehension, we often exclude him while at the same time, unknowingly, we are invaded by adversaries. Many who force their way into my life, who slip in by means that are cunning, who impose themselves by devious and destructive tactics, often are bent on deceiving and destroying me. They are thieves and predators, who are determined to plunder and exploit me as a person for their own selfish ends. We live in a world and society rife with those who hold and propagate false teachings, false philosophies, false ideologies, false concepts, false values, and false standards of behavior. We are approached on every side by those who would penetrate our lives to pillage them if they could. Their aim is to exploit us. They would rob us of the rich benefits which could be ours as the sheep of Elohim's pasture. Yes, when called by Elohim, Satan, the devil, often works overtime, sending and doing his best to sideline us, to prevent the Spirit of Yah from leading and teaching us. Yeah, it's true. I almost didn't want to do this video today. I almost didn't do it. So that's true. In many ways, he distracts us. So we move from being called to being chosen. There is a full study on this website entitled Called and Chosen When, Keith Hunt. Sad to say that in many lives they have actually succeeded. People have been pillaged, countless lives have been robbed by the enemy, posing as proper owners. Yet in those same lives, in those very sheepfolds, the door has never been opened to the Good Shepherd who really does have the right to enter, and who in truth is entitled to their ownership and care. This is one of the enduring enigmas of human behavior that is so baffling. We human beings will allow all kinds of strange ideologies and philosophies to permeate our thinking. We will allow humanistic standards and materialistic concepts to actually rob us of the finest values that would otherwise enrich us. We permit false aims and ambitions to penetrate our thinking and dominate our desires, scarcely aware that in so doing we are forfeiting the richest values our Good Shepherd intended for us. On every side, on every side we see people robbed, not necessarily of materialistic possessions, but of the much more enduring assets of eternal worth and duration. Yahushua did say indeed, many are called, but few are chosen. Many called ones are robbed from moving on by the cares of the world, the physical riches of the world, the pleasures of the world, the whatever of the world. Anything that prevents us from having the Good Shepherd enter fully into our lives, our hearts, our minds. Keith Hunt. The simple solution to this whole dilemma is to discover for ourselves that in truth, the only one who really has a right to manage the fold of my life is not myself, but Elohim. Most of us labor under the delusion that we have every right to our lives, that we have the right to go where we wish, do as we please, live as we choose, and decide our own destiny. We do not. We belong to Elohim. He made us for himself. He chose us in Mashiach out of love. From before the foundation of the earth, to be his own. He has bought us twice over, both through his generous death and also by his amazing resurrection life, or to life. Every faculty I possess in my body, mind, emotions, will, disposition, and spirit has been entrusted to me as a gift, bestowed by the bounty of the generous, gracious, self-giving, self-sharing Elohim and Mashiach. There is no such thing as a self-made man or woman. To assert this is colossal conceit of the first magnitude. It is an affront to the living Jehovah, the living Elohim, who alone has a rightful claim on me. Even the total earth environment, the biota, of which I am a part, and which sustains me during my brief earth sojourn, is Elohim's doing. Only at his pleasure is it maintained in perfect balance and poise. It provides the precise support mechanisms which ensure my survival upon the sphere and space. The end. Well, not the end, but we're going to break there, and I'll continue tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow, but in the morning or during the day before the end of Shabbat. I'm at the preeminence of Christ or Mashiach. So just take a picture of that. There's still, I'd say, a good hour. Yeah, at least an hour. That closing section relates to exactly what I was thinking about earlier today. Exactly, not even like a coincidence. I was meditating on my personal philosophies and ideas that, things were a lot better before the Industrial Revolution. We were an agrarian, agricultural life. Our societies were mostly agricultural. I think every country was at one point. And that was the way. That was the right way to take care of the planet and the earth and the animals and each other, and to relate to each other as human beings, and not to be the way things are like in Toronto, or also segregated. And people just cluster up into their own communities, and they form these cliques, and they keep their languages to the detriment of others. I'm not saying not to retain your culture. I'm saying that they retain those cultures to spite others, not to add or contribute. They aren't becoming members of a community, of a society that looks out for everybody. It's only their community. That's not the right way. That's not Torah. But anyway, the point is, I thought about how things should be ideally. Number one will be an agrarian society, agricultural people again, that we're going to live off the land and take care of the land and reestablish, plant more trees, and grow crops and all that, and everyone will have a communal farm. But things aren't going to pan out that way at the moment, like right now. The age of man is continually industrial and cement and glass. So out of touch with the creation of Elohim. We become so secular and we worship ourselves. We are led by our own Elohims, our own gods, which are ourselves. We don't believe in a God. And those who claim to believe in a God don't actually do what God wants. They put themselves in the seat of God and do what they want to do, and only consult God when things are awry and they have no one else to turn to because they've exhausted all their options. So that's a sad state of our societies. And so I got to thinking, oh man, there's so much, there seems to be a finite amount of resources and space on this planet. Like, isn't that going to be a problem in the future? But I think that's what all this climate change alarmism is talking about, that we only have X amount of years and X amount of resources and X amount of space, and we can only have X amount of babies, or else we're going to be overpopulated and blah, blah, blah. And we all know, you know, we can see today that's just a bunch of baloney. It doesn't, if it was true, we'd all be dead right now. If it was true, we'd have famine right now all over the world, not only in one segment. Truth is, Elohim designed this planet to be able to balance all resources and people and space and litter. Just think of all the trash that is out there, how much trash we get rid of every week. We probably collectively as a planet, we get rid of how many metric tons of waste a week? And that accumulates every year, and that accumulates every century. Like, where is all this garbage going to? Or like composting just started, not too long ago, in terms of it being practiced on a mass scale. So, I mean, I don't want to get too off topic, but the point is, God designed everything. Elohim designed everything perfectly because he knew that we would depart from that agricultural agrarian society, away from Gemeinschaft, from people loving each other, and going towards Gesellschaft and industrialization and people becoming cold towards each other and no longer seeing each other as brother and sister. Because when you do multiculturalism without the Spirit of God, all we see is color. All we see is, where are you from, or what are you wearing on your head, and what gender are you, and all this hullabaloo. So that's the problem. But God has a solution. Elohim has a solution, and he's prepared for any change, because actually, when you really, really break it all down, he has everything pretty much programmed to the slightest piece of code, the smallest, most insignificant microscopic detail, that his plan will not fail. We can do whatever you want and put ourselves in the place of Elohim, but his will is stronger than ours. He declared the beginning from the end. He says something and it's as good as done. He inspired the prophets and those men of old to write these words, and these words stand forever and ever. Amen. So you either play by his rules or you get broken by his laws. You play by his laws and his rules, or you get broken by his rules and his laws. You will not rule over him. He will rule over you. Over us, we can make this a battle of wills, but in the end, he wins. And it's good that he wins, because he is love. He is good. He is merciful. He determines what is right, what is wrong. He determines, he created life. I mean, it's so vast. It's so incomprehensible that It's so mind-blowing that he knew from the very beginning. Nothing was a surprise to him, really. It's only expressed that way because it was expressed that way. But the thing is, he knew everything we were going to say. And I talk for all mankind and womankind, all people who ever lived. He knew everything we were going to think and do and say even before it happened. Even before Sarah laughed, even before Abraham said, what if there's only 10 people, and so on and so forth. He knew. It's just, he just wanted to prove, wanted to see it come out, and for the words to prove themselves and for our hands to prove themselves in our actions. He knew from the beginning that I would be where I am now compared to where I was 20 odd years ago. And now, as we approach this time of the end, he knows exactly what's going to happen. And there's so much, the point I'm trying to get to is there's so much out of our control. There's so much out of our control that we have no influence, no sway over, as to where we should be to be safe, what we should do to be safe, to survive and not be martyred, or like is there a special blessing in not being martyred? I think there's I think conversely or inversely, on the contrary, you should want to be martyred. There's a greater place of honor to be a martyr, to end up dying for the cause of his kingdom. We shouldn't want to be safe. We should want to say, where's the most dangerous place? Let me go there. Will not be foolish. Okay, let me rephrase. But if I should die for the faith I have, then let it be. So anyway, I just wanted to close with that. It is Shabbat. It's holy time. I'm going to go get my rest that I need. Probably get 6 hours at this rate. But it's been great. I just, I pray the shalom of Elohim, of our Father, Abba, be on you all. Whoever watches this video live, this one person, whoever that is, YouTube censor probably, and those who will watch in the future, wherever you are, the blessing of Yah be on you as well, and the shalom of Yah be on you, be with you. May Elohim be with you. May protect you all. Do not lose heart. Be strong and be of good courage. Never, never give up, ever. Yah will always provide. He will always be there. Even if you're at death's door, he will save you. If he doesn't, he'll resurrect you. He'll save you either way. He'll either save your human life, or if you lose human life, he will save your eternal life. So Shabbat Shalom. Once again, this is a almost 3 hour video. We're going to 2:49. I'm going to stop streaming right now. I like 49.